If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tip today on 1-800-938-007.
Glad to be joined by our relationships expert, Susan O'Donoghue. Good morning to you, Susan.
Good morning, friend.
And good to see you. You're going to talk to us today about what I think is a very big topic and a big issue, which is loneliness.
Yeah, and it affects so many people in Ireland. 1 in 5, they report now, this is true research. So that's 20% of us. It's huge. It's absolutely
How do you define it, though, Susan?
Okay, so I was thinking this morning, what is loneliness, right? And I suppose it describes how someone feels when they lack meaningful or social or emotional connection. So it's about relationship, isn't it? And loneliness, like, there's a big difference in being alone and being lonely. And I suppose Gabor Mate, do you know Gabor? He's
sure,
Canadian.
yeah.
He would describe it as lonely or being alone. We know being alone is a fact. We can embrace and make decisions about it. So that's kind of a conscious thing, right? So lonely has an emotional charge to it. So when I'm lonely, there's lots of feelings around it.
Yes.
There's sadness, there's, upset.
So it's not about being alone particularly?
No, they're two totally complete different things. And for me, I often wonder, that word loneliness, like, I suppose a couple of years ago, the revelation came to me a good couple of years ago now that I need to take responsibility, not have to, there's the unconscious again. I need to take responsibility for my own well-being. I need to take responsibility for my behaviours, for my feelings, for my responses, for my reactions. That they're mine. I need to own them, right? And if everybody did that in the world, God, it'd be a fabulous world, wouldn't it? We'd all answer for our own stuff. But that's not how we see the world when we're brought into it, because there's so many reactive and unconscious stuff that we all react and push it out there that it's somebody else's fault, or we'll take on somebody else's stuff and blame ourselves for it. So to me, there's a lot of that in being alone as well, because for me, it's about that reflection on loneliness is a feeling.
Yes.
There's lots of feelings around it, right? So our feelings are created by us and for us. We're back to this again now, right?
Yeah.
They're created by us and for us. So what is my loneliness trying to tell me?
Oh, that's very interesting.
Right? This is the way I think of it.
Yeah.
And I would think, how was safety for me growing up, as in relational safety? Was it safe in relationship? Or did I find relationships very unsafe? Yeah, what's stopping me from reaching out? Because it's lovely to say, to me this is like a band-aid now when we say, well, loneliness, you know what you need to do now? You need to get out there and you need to meet people and you need to make connections and blah, 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 blah. But if I'm not in a space to do that, if I'm hugely threatened by a relationship with another, that's going to be almost impossible for me to do.
Right, so when you hear all of the advice, and I know you're not too fond of advice, go and join a card club or go social dancing.
With the best intentions.
Yeah, of course. But that's not going to fix the underlying...
Well, for me, it's what's underneath the feeling, right? And I'm always saying it's not about looking at the surface stuff, because if I look at the surface, I put a Band-Aid on it, but it's still there.
Yes.
That's how I see it. So for me, it's always about getting underneath the feeling. What's this feeling trying to tell me? Because remember, I'm creating it. And if there's anybody knows me, it's me, right? Even if a lot of it is unconscious, there's still a knowing there. I know myself, right? But I want to bring all the unconscious stuff that I've piled in over the years because it was too threatening to look at it. I want to bring it to the surface now, carefully, easily, gently, so I don't get overwhelmed. And a lot of the times, I think, for me personally, myself, I needed support to do that. It was too threatening for me to do that on my own. And the reason I believe for that is, if it's true relationship, that relationships become unsafe. It's true relationships that relationships are going to become safe. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah, it does.
So the most important relationship to work on is yourself, right? But if I've never had the opportunity to see somebody say, working on their relationship with themselves, then how am I going to know what that looks like? How am I going to know where to start? How am I going to know what to do? So a lot of times, if I have huge fears around relationships, if I have huge blockages around going out there and putting myself out there for fear of what comes back, because we all know it can be real threatening to put yourself out there, right? You have to be really solid in yourself to be able to do that. And if you have that sense of feeling loneliness on top of that, that's hugely upsetting, hugely threatening. Like, you know, the devil we know is better than the devil we don't sometimes. So it just feels safer to wrap ourselves in and just have that sense of loneliness. But remember, that feeling of loneliness keeps coming up to try and motivate us to do something around it, because as people we need connection.
So that's why it's there. So there's a purpose for loneliness.
All behaviour makes sense. Yeah, all our feelings are about us and for us. They're not against anyone else. So a lot of times, you know, you'll have a couple relationship, say, and they won't be able to connect, or, you know, oh, he doesn't get me, or he doesn't, you know, he doesn't understand me, or she doesn't understand me, or she's always talking, and you know what I mean? It's always about her. Right? You hear this constantly the whole time. And I like Carl Jung. I like a lot of his stuff. And he says loneliness does not come from having people around you, but for being unable to communicate the things that are important to you.
It's interesting.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's, do you get me? And if you get me, I feel the connection then.
Right.
Yeah.
If anybody listening is feeling that sense of loneliness and they don't want it, they want to do something about it, what would you say to them? Where would you start?
Right, I was lucky enough that when I started in college, right? Because I'd never gone.
But had you
anyone.
a feeling of loneliness?
I would have had at certain times. I would have felt like I was on my own in certain aspects of my life. Like, I suppose I would have went to America when I was really young, and I never felt like I could go home. Not that it was never said, but they just didn't have it. I never felt like I could ring home and ask for, can you send over money for a flight back? Because they just didn't have it, right? So there was a sense of you were on your own in that, and that was a sense of loneliness, because you couldn't depend on anyone else for support, only yourself.
But is that homesick? Is that a different...
No, that's not homesick. Homesick is missing somebody at home, or missing a relationship, or missing a connection face to face. This is more like feeling like you're on your own with this one now. Yeah,
Okay.
There's no point in asking anyone else, because it's not going to happen. Because see, that was my experience growing up.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
It does,
So
yeah.
it depends on your story. It depends on how your story was for you. Did you have a lot of people in your life who wanted to hear you, who wanted to listen to you, who had an interest in what you had to say as a child?
But a lot of people might have been in that situation, but it didn't manifest itself in loneliness, if you know what I mean.
There's a certain sense of loneliness around that, because you don't have any support in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You don't have anybody who you can ring, or anybody who you can depend on for it. So you have to become self-reliant, but it's a pseudo. It's a kind of a pseudo confidence that you get around. Oh, I'm going to take this on, and I'll have no issue getting money together to go home. Sure, I'll have to do it myself. Sure, that's just the way. This kind of sense of that, rather than I know I can do it.
Yes.
I'm okay with this, I've got this. And if I do need to ask somebody for help, I will be able to do that as well. Because what happens when you go the first way is that you end up never asking for help.
Yeah.
Because to ask for help is a sign of failure.
And in years gone by, people might have used the church,
Yeah.
for example, where this is concerned, because it might have given them solace of some kind. That's not there for an awful lot of people now. Is that part of the issue, do you think?
I think there's a lot to do with it. I think, I know that there was a lot of issues with the church, and I know there was a lot of stuff went on, but it did give that sense of belonging and that sense of connectedness, that we all had a goal, that was similar.
Because I still envy that. I think that's great.
Yeah, and I would say the same.
Yeah.
I would say that, but I envy it in the sense of it's great to have that sense of belief. But I don't have that sense of belief. I have a spiritual sense that I think there is something out there. Now, there's lots of people would say there's not. Lots of people would say there is, but they're just specific of what's out there. I don't have a specific, because I don't know. I'd be kind of more curious and wondrous about what it is. And I don't think I'll know until I go there. That's the bottom line. I don't have that sense of faith. I suppose that's what you'd call it, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But I mean, I saw it in action even over Christmas, with local funerals and stuff, how people literally come together.
Yeah, and that's a sense of connection.
And
and belonging.
Incredible.
And a sense of love.
The power of it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, it's
power
huge.
Of it, you know?
That is beautiful that is one thing in Ireland that we do so
Brilliantly.
well. Yeah. But God forbid you should do something wrong in Ireland, or step over, Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're outside the pack then, aren't you?
Yeah, and that's a sense of loneliness.
Yeah.
But should we all know that, like, it's researched beyond, right, that loneliness causes, health problems, it causes emotional problems, mental well-being problems, it causes all sorts of stuff, right? We know that. We know that you have heart problems, you have immune problems, there's lots of stuff come along with it. And still, in Ireland, this really, I suppose, challenges me sometimes. And I know Mary Butler's a minister for mental health, but we've taken away resources rather than put them in.
I know.
In a time where it's crucial, and I think young people are amazing, right? And I think old people are amazing. I think we're all amazing. But I really think young people are great. And this lack of connection now through social media scares me. Yeah. I think that sense of...
Now that plays into loneliness.
Yeah, it plays into loneliness.
Yeah.
It like promotes it hugely. And even though they feel like they're connecting to others, and they might be talking to somebody online way more than we'd be talking to somebody face to face, but there's nothing like face to face.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that body language, that intimacy, that sense of, that person really gets me, or you know it, but when you sit with somebody.
Where I see that almost every day is the difference between interviewing somebody by phone and like we are here right across the table here. It's totally different. They're not even they don't even match in any sense of the word. So I suppose that loneliness is a very unique personal thing, and each person's loneliness is unique to them. And it depends on, when you said to me, I wouldn't think that would be a loneliness thing now, but I felt loneliness through that. Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So there's a difference. We're all going to feel it differently. But I did feel a sense of aloneness. And of course, Tony Humphreys would always talk about, our Tony now, he would always talk about that we all need to feel alone to get that sense of ourselves. And John O'Donoghue is another big one for that. And I think For Loneliness is one of his poems, and in it he kind of basically talks around how that sense of solitude and being alone.
Yeah, but isn't that conflating? I'm not sure if that's helpful, because it's conflating being alone and loneliness, which are different.
But see, I think we need to get that sense of being alone to reflect on.
Yeah.
And that sense of loneliness. What is it for us, and how is it? Because I was on about reflection the last day I was in. It's about reflection. It's about looking at, oh my goodness, what's coming up for me? What's this feeling telling me? Where is it coming from? Who am I with when I feel it, or who am I not with when I feel it? Who do I feel it with when I think about them most? Or, that kind of sense of that. Because I think too, the romantic side of it can be, it can be very unconscious, So I think there's a lot of work to be put into it. But it's about coming back to yourself the whole time and asking the questions, what's my need in this?
Yes. Yeah? And is there a personality type that is prone to loneliness and melancholy, and that's that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, in the research it shows that young people and people over 50. But I think that's because people in the middle are just, they don't have time for all. You have children, you have to get 5 minutes by yourself would be a privilege sometimes. Do you know what I mean? But it doesn't matter how many people are around you, you can still feel alone.
Yes.
So I wonder, are they mixing that up sometimes when they do the research? Because
I think so.
Yeah, for me, it's what's really underneath it. Because I think at certain times we all feel lonely.
Yeah. And have you seen people come out of that feeling of loneliness if they address the, can I call them core issues? Or?
I think so. I think that's the only way you come out of it, is to address the deeper issues. I think you can... It's different on, there's different levels of it too. There's chronic loneliness where it's been happening for years and years and years, and that's harder to come out of then because now this has become a habit for me. So it's about breaking that cycle, but it's also about looking at what's the deeper stuff going on in here. Because I don't want to put a Band-Aid on it. Because if I do, it might look all right for a couple of weeks and come back again.
And can I, sadly I'm almost out of time, but there's something I wanted to pick you up on. You spoke earlier on about taking responsibility for our actions and our thoughts, I presume, and everything else. If you do that, though, and you come across something that says, okay, I have to take responsibility for that, but boy, was I a bad person there. How do you deal with that? Because then you have to say, look,
okay,
I
when you
acted
say a bad
appropriately,
person there, right? All behaviour makes sense, okay?
Yeah.
To the person, who it's happening to, I might look at some of your behaviours, and unless I sit with you and hear your story, I might not think that it makes sense.
Yes.
I might think you're being totally random and crazy and off the cuff. But when you actually sit with somebody and listen to them, I guarantee you, if we listen to ourselves, we will get a sense of, oh my God, sure, that was the best I could do then.
Yes.
And that's what happens to
knowing what I knew at that point.
That's the best I could do, because I think we're always doing our best. And even through, the worst of things, like you hear people doing horrendous things and, and you think, oh my God, just lock them up and stick them away. If we do that, we're not looking at the deeper issue. We're just putting a Band-Aid on it again. And the deeper issue is, how do people get into such situations like that where they feel unconsciously maybe that they've no other option?
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
If people want to talk to you, how can they do that, Susan?
It's 086 3676256 or info@emotionalwellbeing.ie. Thanks.
All right, great to see you as always. Thanks, Susan. That's it for me. Leanne produced, Ali looks after content. Stephen has the time tunnel on the lunchtime show, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Look after yourselves, won't you? Bye-bye.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Hook On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Hook On. See slatterysgarage.ie.